Hi, my name is Vicky Lee, and I'm your success coach. Have you ever been in a situation where there is not a single customer in sight to buy your product or service? There's not a single investor interested in your startup, or there isn't a single person willing to love you? In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the rules of abundance, which are going to show you where to start when you've got nothing. In all of nature, harsh conditions, lack of resources, starvation, and deprivation forces plants and animals to develop characteristics and traits which we consider to be beautiful. The number one rule of abundance is that depravity creates beauty. Imagine a flower in a barren landscape with no water, no shade, no bumblebees to pollinate, no soil to root. The flower forces itself to develop the brightest colors and the sweetest fragrant nectar so that a lone bumblebee will travel hundreds of miles just to pollinate it. In order to survive with no resources, you have to develop unique beauty. You have to be a rare orchid, not just another daisy. So where do you get your uniqueness from? Well, actually, you get it from your depravity, from your lack of resources, from what you don't have but wish you did. For example, my client, 9-time world champion of jiu-jitsu, Sal Ribeiro, he didn't have, when he first started his career, he had nobody, no gifted athletes to train under him. So he just took an anybody, a nobody, a regular guy, and trained him to be a world champion. And now that's his signature. That's his unique beauty. He goes to places that haven't even heard of jiu-jitsu, like Scotland, Ohio, Canada, and he just takes anybody who happens to be there and makes them into a world champion. So if you're poor, you're destitute, you're lonely, you've fallen on hard times, you're in luck. You've got the main ingredient for what it takes to be unique. The number 2 rule of abundance is that complaining is death. Nature doesn't complain. It just survives. When do you see flowers praying to God for a winning lotto ticket? When do you see trees filing a complaint with HR? Nothing in nature relies on bureaucracy or another person to solve its problems. Nature relies only on itself and the conditions of its environment. If you stop to complain, you will not survive. You are wasting precious energy in the wrong direction. After Malcolm X was violently assassinated, I saw his widow, Betty Shabazz, speak at Berkeley, where I was going to college. And someone in the audience asked her, how could you, after he was killed, go back to college, earn a degree, a master's, a PhD, and then become a college professor? And she said, it was because I couldn't complain. Because as soon as she started thinking about trucking her 6 little kids up the walkway back to her mother's house, she could just see her mother standing in the doorway saying, I told you to marry the dentist. But y'all had to marry the Islamic Revolution. And then just that thought alone, she was like packing the kids right back in the car and driving away. She had no shoulder to cry on. And so if you have no shoulder to cry on, and nobody in your sphere will tolerate your pity party, you're in luck. You will survive. You're going to shut up, get up, and go straight in the right direction because you have no choice. The number 3 rule of abundance is to adapt to your conditions. So a plant, like a flower, it can't just get up and move to Miami or move to the big city where all the fertilizer and the insects are so that it can stay an ugly, brown, dry flower and still be pollinated. It has to stay in that arid, dry desert and bloom right where it's at. Are you in a situation where you cannot move to where the resources are? You don't have money to pay for school tuition. You live in a rural area. You're living on a fixed income. You're deaf. You're on disability. You're in a wheelchair, or you're otherwise physically challenged. In order to survive, you've got to stay put right where you are. Look at the conditions limiting you, and then find the solution right in your own backyard. For example, Vicky Lee, CEO of Vicky Lee Jewelry. She couldn't stay in her corporate job and raise her children at the same time, so she didn't go and try to change corporate America. She changed her own backyard. She started to make jewelry, and now her company posts $151 million a year in profits. Think of indigenous people, the most beautiful people on the planet. They developed song, tribes, culture, rituals that harness the energy of the ocean, sun, moon, and stars. Everything they needed, they found within themselves. Just like nature. Nature trusts God. Nature trusts that God created within itself the resources it needs to be beautiful and therefore to survive. I want you to write down what you're lacking right now in your life. Your handicaps, disadvantages, lack of resources. List them right now on a piece of paper. Now I want you to answer what you need to do in order to survive because of those disadvantages. Now answer this question. How does it force you to be beautiful? See, when you don't have the package, you develop the content or the substance. Now, who are the most unhappy people in the world? The most suicides are in Japan, the most technologically advanced society in the world. Who are the most drug addicted and depressed? Celebrities and billionaire trust fund children. These people don't have to lift a finger to get their needs met. When our needs are met, we don't develop beauty. Everything in nature develops beauty from depravity, lack, and harsh conditions. Only humans expect beauty to come the easy way of having wealth, resources, and no pain. Look at God's way versus man's way. So you may be poor, lonely, and destitute, but so is the Panamint orchid, one of the rarest orchids in nature. And you alone are beautiful. The sweetest nectar flows through you. I know a CEO who had fallen on hard times, and back in his day, the guy was a hot shot. He went 1,000 miles per hour. And after his 6th company, he went bankrupt. And I'd still have coffee with him throughout the years. And as I did, I noticed that every time we met at Starbucks, he started to slow down little by little to a point where one day I just saw it. He paused to open up the door for old ladies. When a young woman walked by, he would notice the shade of her hair or the faraway look in her eyes, and the man had appreciation, which means beauty. He began to emanate beauty. When we would walk up and we were done with our coffee, he'd pick up every single piece of litter and throw it in the trash. He had this honor and respect that he just didn't have when he was a multimillionaire. And that's the thing, you know? Beauty, sensuality, and sexiness, they come from the soul. The more soul you have, the sexier you are. God teaches us how to be sexy naturally by regulating the seasons. In your life, there will be a dry season, a wet season, a cold season, a hot season, a young season, and a mature, ripe season. You will naturally have your ups and downs, and as you embrace them, You gradually develop and grow your beauty as you age. If you want to understand how to turn the harsh conditions of your life into beauty, please give me a call for a free success strategy session and forward this video in a personalized email to everyone you know who is secretly beautiful but hasn't yet bloomed. Thank you.